Welcome to You Are the Answer, the podcast that helps you reconnect with the most powerful healer you know, your own body. I'm Naomi Mills, chiropractor, healthcare professional, and believer in the natural intelligence within us all. In this podcast, I explore what it means to trust your body, decode its signals, and take ownership of your well-being without quick fixes or health fads. Whether you're just beginning your journey or deep in transformation, I'm here to guide you back to the truth. You are not broken. You are the answer. Okay, welcome to episode 15. Thank you so much for being here today. I have a question for you. First of all, how old are you? And secondly, how old does your body feel? Most of the time. Because if there's something I've noticed working with thousands of clients over the last 15 years, how often somebody who will be very young, and I would consider anybody under 80 young, but somebody in their 30s or 40s say they feel like they're in their 50s or 60s. So how old does your body feel? Today I want to talk about aging, the nervous system, and what you can do to turn back time for your body right now. So when do we start aging? Now, technically, cellular aging is going to begin from birth, but that's not when our resilience declines. But biologically, we're talking about when your repair and your regeneration start to slow down. And for most humans, that becomes measurable somewhere between your late 20s and your mid-30s. And I know in my chiropractic work, when I'm explaining to somebody that typically the older you are, maybe the longer we'll expect for you to see some differences. There's a lot of reasons for that. And if you go right back to the beginning of the podcast, we talk about how your body is accumulating on some level every physical, chemical, and emotional stressor you've experienced since birth. And so your past physical, emotional, chemical history is going to have a huge impact on how old your body feels today. But also, as we get older, you'll notice that you maybe don't ping back like you did. And I'll often joke with people, remember when you were a teenager and you might have managed to drink 3 bottles of wine, and you try that in your 30s and you regret it, and in your 40s you swear you're never going to drink again. So our nervous system resilience is going down with age, most often because we've been chronically dysregulated. And actually, long-term dysregulation of your nervous system has been shown to accelerate cellular aging, because those increased cortisol stress hormone levels will push your inflammation. Your poor vagal tone will then shut down repair. We know more stress equals less repair. Long-term fight or flight has been shown to reduce immune efficiency. And perceived threats can literally change how your genes are expressed through epigenetics and other factors. And so, on the other hand, having a calm, consistently regulated nervous system has been shown to slow biological aging. And put really simply, think of a bunch of people you know in their 40s and then in their 50s and people you know in their 60s. And I guarantee you they will all function and look and be very different, even if they're the same chronological age. And that's because of this whole life history that they have lived. And I know in my clinical work that I can have 2 people in their 20s with back pain, and they are experiencing it very differently because of all of these factors we've been talking about. And they will recover very differently because of these factors that we've talked about. Really all down to how well or well not, that's terrible grammar, but how well or otherwise they manage to regulate their nervous system. And so aging is not something that is going to happen to you at a fixed time. It's really the cumulative effect of how safe, supported, rested, and resourced your nervous system has been over time. I know particularly for women, when I went through some specific training around the menopause and perimenopause and what happens as women effectively go through puberty backwards, as the hormones fluctuate and drop wildly. The devastating news was how well or well not you get through the menopause is broadly determined in how well you looked after yourself in your 20s and 30s. And then suddenly that estrogen cushion is taken away and you are left quite bare with how well you looked after yourself or you didn't. And that's a scary thing, because women tend to really care about these things in their 50s, and when we needed to care about it was in our 30s. So this is what we're talking about today. Age is not just a chronological number. How your body feels in terms of how old it might feel is really a nervous system story. And what are the 5 things that really matter when it comes to feeling as young and as healthy as possible at any age? So what are the 5 key things you can look at? It's really about maintaining flexibility in your nervous system. It's about protecting your ability to adapt, recover, and restore your regulation. So the number 1 thing is going to be regular movement, gentle to moderate movement. It's one of our most powerful nervous system regulators. Walking, strength training, particularly as women age, but when all of us get in our 40s and 50s, weight training becomes extremely important. Mobility and balance, one of the biggest reasons elderly people struggle and can ultimately find their lives cut short, is losing that quadricep, that thigh strength, the ability to get on and off chairs, up and down from floors. So they have falls, and it can be extremely detrimental to their length of life when they get stuck on the floor. The second health behaviour after movement is going to be sleep. Prioritising deep, good sleep, where you reduce your inflammation, your tissues repair, your nervous system resets. And so that is our second area of focus. The third area is maybe one you don't expect, and that is one of social connection and belonging. And I listened to another wonderful podcast by a specialist in aging and in psychotherapy, and he said one of the most protective ways that we can live longer and healthier lives is through community. So strong social bonds are one of the most powerful predictors of a long-lived life. And when we think from a nervous system perspective, we're talking safe relationships, co-regulation, laughter, shared meals, touch, feeling seen, feeling important. All of that is so important for regulating our nervous system, reducing stress hormones, and also improving immune and cardiovascular health. So social connection and belonging, very, very important on your list. And you do know that we know that isolation has the opposite effect for us. I've talked about that on this podcast too. Something else we've talked about recently, just 2 episodes ago, not having the goal of a stress-free life, but experiencing stress as resilience. We talked about that in terms of self-empowerment exercises, the arrow break, the trust fall, the glass walk, using stress as a way to build and strengthen our nervous systems, not allowing it to break. We talked about stretching, not breaking. So any practice that builds that muscle, be it breath work, gentle challenges, journaling, things that teach your nervous system that activation isn't always a threat and that we can recover from it and build resilience. And you can train that at any age. And then the fifth area that you can look at that's going to be most protective against your aging is finding meaning and purpose. So we know that people age better when they feel useful, when you feel engaged, and when you are leading through choice. So remember 2 episodes ago when we were talking about why it might be important to be able to take that breath between responding and reaction. And it's so that you can move forward with purpose and not feel so helpless. It's about knowing that you matter and that you still have influence in your life and in those around you. Because healing accelerates when the nervous system feels empowered rather than passive. So the really cool thing about today is we all want to live longer, hopefully, but we want to live not just longer, but live better as we live longer. And looking through the evidence, I've been interrogating some research, I've been just kind of being playful and curious because I wanted to bring in this idea that so many people say to me that they feel way older than they are. I was surprised, but not surprised, to realize that so much of the science that we have around aging and a long, well-lived life, it's just nervous system regulation. It's just nervous system 101. It's back to sleeping, feeling safe, feeling connected, being regulated. So today you can pick one of these 5 areas to make your focus, to make your priority over the coming weeks, because of course you can't change everything at once. However, changing one thing in one area will improve you in all areas. So that might look like making movement and exercise top of your list today. It might be the opposite and making skipping the gym and just really focusing in on sleep your number one priority. Because guess what? A good night's sleep will help you get to the gym and you'll sleep better after you've been. It might be focusing on your social connections and belonging, because that's really an area that feels low right now. It could be self-empowerment, self-care, building some resilience and teaching yourself, reminding yourself just how strong you truly are. Or it might be leaning into some values work, finding more meaning and purpose. All of these are incredibly worthy ways to spend your time because they will improve each area and your health. And in fact, I have a great tool that I'm going to share with you today. The link will be on the podcast show notes, where you actually rate various areas of your life. It's a printable PDF that you can either just visualize once you've seen it, or I encourage you to actually physically print it out and physically color it in. And what it does is it helps highlight which area in your life you're feeling really low in, because the area that you're really low in is the one where you are best placed to spend your energy. And these areas relate to what we've been talking about today: physicality, social connection and belonging, self-care, your values, your physical movement or your physical sleep. And you can color this in, and then it will show you very, very clearly where you might want to spend your energy, because it's a very human thing that the part we're ignoring for whatever reason, because it feels difficult or we don't particularly like it, or whatever story we're holding around it, we might be doing really, really well in socializing, but really poor in another area. And it's easy, isn't it, to focus on the thing you're doing well and do more of that. When the trick is, if you even just slightly increase in another area, it will improve all the areas in your life and health. And you know now today how important that is, because age and aging is not a cliff. It's not a cliff edge that you go down. It's not an inevitable story. I have been most inspired by clients and mentors over the years who I have seen get healthy as they get older. And I have an amazing client that I talked about in a future self episode back then, who was still breaking records in their 70s and running regularly and not on any medication and not seeing their GPs. I have seen the experience that the people who fulfill these areas of movement and socialization and purpose really do live longer, healthier, more fulfilling lives. And that is what I want for you. So hop on the website when you get a chance, download that resource, or make a commitment just here now as you listen of which of those 5 areas you are going to make your focus for the coming month. And then make sure you circle back in 30 days or so and notice what a difference it made because you made that conscious commitment. And make sure you tune in for next week's episode, where we are going to be exploring what happens when you make good changes and your body shouts about it. We call it the healing crisis, and we want to understand it better. Thank you for joining me on You Are the Answer. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it with someone you care about and leave a review to help others find their way back to their body too. For more tools, inspiration and resources to support your journey, head to www.youaretheanswer.co.uk. And until next time, stay connected, stay curious, and remember, you are the answer, and you always have been.